After 19 years rebuilding engines and transmissions for Japanese cars, one conversation outside Kyoto changed everything I understood about the difference between a car that lasts 150,000 miles and one that lasts 400,000. A mechanic who specialized in K cars opened the valve cover on a Suzuki Alto with 380,000 kilometers, about 236,000 miles. The inside looked like it had 30,000. No sludge. No varnish, just clean metal. Then he showed me photos on his phone of a Chevy Silverado V8 he had inspected the year before while visiting his cousin in Texas. It had 95,000 miles. The valve train was caked in brown sludge. Same age. One engine was 8 times smaller, but it was the big American V8 that looked like it was dying. He said something I will never forget: the gap is not the engine. The gap is what you do at 5,000 miles. That one decision, made every 5,000 miles, determines whether your engine sees 150,000 or 450,000. And almost no one in America is making the right one. Before the list, understand why this gap exists. American maintenance intervals are not designed around how long your engine lasts. They are designed around how long your warranty lasts. The average new car warranty in the US is 3 years or 36,000 miles. Manufacturers set oil change intervals and fluid service schedules that will keep the car running through that warranty period without making the maintenance schedule look expensive or inconvenient. After the warranty expires, what happens to your engine is no longer their concern. Dealerships make significantly more profit on a transmission replacement than on 6 transmission fluid changes. A timing belt failure that destroys an engine generates more revenue than selling you a timing belt every 60,000 miles. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. You are just not the one it is designed to benefit. In Japan, maintenance is scheduled around component lifespan. The question is not, will this get the car past 36,000 miles? The question is, will this keep the engine in near-perfect condition for 300,000 miles? One oil changes every 5,000 kilometers, 3,100 miles, even with full synthetic. This is the decision that mechanic in Kyoto was talking about. In the United States, most manufacturers now recommend oil changes every 7,500 or even 10,000 miles with full synthetic. Your dashboard tells you when it is time based on an algorithm. That interval is not based on when your oil stops protecting your engine. It is based on when your oil reaches the minimum acceptable performance threshold to avoid warranty claims. Those are two very different standards. In Japan, even with full synthetic oil in a modern engine, the interval is 5,000 kilometers, about 3,100 miles. For K cars with tiny high-revving engines that work harder than almost any American engine, some owners go 3,000 kilometers. Oil does not just lubricate. It suspends contaminants, neutralizes acids, and transfers heat away from components that would otherwise weld themselves together. After 5,000 miles, even the best synthetic oil starts breaking down. The detergent additives weaken, microscopic metal particles accumulate, combustion byproducts turn the oil acidic. The oil still flows and still lubricates, but it no longer protects at the level it did when fresh. Two identical Camrys, same 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, same model year. One owner changed oil every 10,000 miles using synthetic and following the maintenance reminder. The other changed it every 5,000. At 120,000 miles, the valve covers came off. The 10,000-mile engine had visible sludge on the camshafts and a thin varnish coating on the valve springs. The 5,000-mile engine looked almost new, clean metal, no buildup. Still visible machine marks on the camshaft lobes. An oil change costs about $50 done yourself, maybe $80 at a quick lube. Changing oil twice as often costs an extra $400 over 50,000 miles. An engine replacement costs between $4,000 and $8,000. You will never see a 3,000-mile oil change interval recommended by an American dealership anymore because it makes the cost of ownership look high. But it is the single biggest reason K car engines in Japan outlast American V8s. 2. Transmission fluid drain and fill every 40,000 kilometers, 25,000 miles. In the US, most modern automatics are sold as having lifetime fluid. Lifetime is a marketing term. It means the fluid is designed to last as long as the warranty. After that, you are on your own. In Japan, the transmission fluid interval for most Toyota and Honda automatics is 40,000 kilometers, roughly 25,000 miles, using a drain and fill, not a flush. Remove the drain plug, let out whatever fluid gravity pulls, refill with the exact OEM spec fluid. Not universal, not compatible, the exact fluid the transmission was designed to use. Automatic transmission fluid operates under extreme heat and pressure. It does not just lubricate gears, it is a hydraulic fluid that engages clutches and controls shift timing. As it ages, it oxidizes. The friction modifiers break down, it collects metal particles from normal wear. At some point, shifts get harsh, clutch packs start slipping, and once a transmission starts slipping, the damage accelerates fast. A Lexus RX 350 came through the shop with 174,000 miles. The owner had bought it used at 60,000 and done a drain and fill every 30,000 miles since. That transmission shifted smoother than most new ones tested. Compare that to the average RX 350 with original lifetime fluid. By 130,000 miles there's hesitation between second and third gear. By 150,000 the torque converter starts shuddering. And at 180,000 the owner is looking at a $5,000 rebuild. A drain and fill costs about $120 in fluid and half an hour of labor. Doing it every 30,000 miles means spending about $600 over 180,000 miles to prevent a $5,000 failure. There is no profit in prevention. There is enormous profit in replacement. 3. Engine air filter every year, regardless of how it looks. Japanese owners change their engine air filter every year. Not every 30,000 miles, every single year, even if it looks clean. The common American advice, hold the filter up to a light if you can see through it is fine, is not wrong for keeping your engine running. It is wrong for keeping your engine efficient. An air filter does not just block visible dirt, it blocks microscopic particles that get past the visible layer. As the filter loads up with contaminants, even ones you cannot see, airflow drops. When airflow drops, the air-fuel ratio changes. The engine computer compensates by dumping more fuel. Power drops and fuel economy drops. K-cars run extremely lean air-fuel ratios to meet strict Japanese emissions and efficiency standards. A partially clogged air filter kills that efficiency immediately. A new OEM air filter costs between $15 and $30 on a personal Prius. Changing the air filter at 1 year, even though it looked fine, produced a measurable 1.2 miles per gallon improvement over the next 2 tanks. That is real, that is measurable, and over a year it pays for the filter. Intake valves pulled from engines that ran with dirty air filters too long show a fine gray coating on the valve faces, dust that made it past the filter. It does not destroy the engine, but it accelerates wear, and wear is cumulative. A $20 air filter every year is the easiest decision you will ever make if you want your engine to last 300,000 miles. 4. Spark plugs every 60,000 kilometers, 37,000 miles. Japanese maintenance schedules treat spark plugs as a wear item, not a lifetime part. In the US, iridium and platinum plugs are often listed as lasting 100,000 miles. Technically, they can still fire at that mileage, but they are not firing efficiently. Spark plug electrodes erode every time they fire. The gap widens. A wider gap requires more voltage to jump, which puts stress on the ignition coil and produces a slightly weaker spark with slightly less complete combustion. Fuel economy drops, emissions go up. In turbocharged or high-compression engines, the risk of misfires under load increases significantly. In Japan, even long-life spark plugs are replaced at 60,000 kilometers, about 37,000 miles. For K-cars with turbocharged 3-cylinder engines running at higher combustion pressures than anything sold in the US market, some owners replace them even sooner. A Honda in-box K-car with 290,000 kilometers, and records showing spark plug changes every 40,000 kilometers produced a near-perfect combustion waveform on the scope. A US market turbo 4-cylinder tested with original plugs at 80,000 miles showed cylinder 4 misfiring under boost. The ignition coil for that cylinder had failed because it had been working too hard trying to fire a worn plug. A set of 4 spark plugs costs between $30 and $60. An ignition coil costs $150 to $300. The math is not complicated. 5. Brake fluid every 2 years, no exceptions. In the United States, brake fluid is almost never changed unless there is a problem. Some owners' manuals do not even list a replacement interval. In Japan, brake fluid is changed every 2 years without exception. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, it absorbs moisture from the air. Over time, even in a sealed system, moisture gets in. Water lowers the boiling point of brake fluid. When the brakes heat up hard, particularly going downhill or in stop-and-go traffic, fluid with enough moisture content can boil. When brake fluid boils, it turns to vapor. Vapor compresses. When you press the brake pedal, it goes soft or to the floor. That is brake fade. That is how people crash. Even without experiencing brake fade, moisture in brake fluid corrodes the inside of brake lines, calipers, and the master cylinder. Steel brake lines rust from the inside out. Aluminum calipers pit. Rubber seals degrade. Master cylinders on 10-year-old cars that have never had the brake fluid changed show visible corrosion inside the bore with leaking seals. A $600 part plus labor. A brake fluid flush costs about $100. Doing it every 2 years means spending $500 over 10 years to prevent easily $1,000 in parts and to keep brakes working correctly in an emergency. Japanese owners view this as non-negotiable. American owners view it as optional. The results show. 6. Coolant every 4 years or 80,000 kilometers, not 150,000 miles. Coolant is not lifetime. In the US, long-life coolant is often labeled as lasting 150,000 miles or 10 years. The chemistry in modern coolant does last longer than the old green formula, but it does not last forever. Coolant contains additives that prevent corrosion inside the engine block, radiator, and heater core. As those additives deplete, corrosion starts invisibly inside the water passages. Aluminum oxidizes, steel rusts. That corrosion creates particles that get carried through the system like an abrasive, damaging the water pump seal, clogging the heater core, settling in radiator tubes, and reducing cooling efficiency. In Japan, coolant is changed every 4 years or 80,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. Water pumps pulled from engines that went 150,000 miles on original coolant show pitted impellers, weeping seals, and visible corrosion on the housing. Compare that to engines where coolant was changed every 50,000 miles. The water pump internals look new at 200,000 miles. A coolant change costs about $100 in parts and labor. A water pump replacement costs $400 to $700 depending on the car. If it is a timing belt engine and the water pump fails, the job runs $1,200 because the timing belt has to come off to access it. Spending $100 every 4 years prevents that. 7. Cabin air filter every year, twice a year in cities. In the United States, cabin air filters are treated as optional. Many people do not even know they have one. In Japan, it is replaced every year. The cabin air filter keeps dust, pollen, and exhaust particles out of the air breathed inside the car. As it loads up, it restricts airflow, the heater and AC work harder, the blower motor draws more current, and air quality inside the car degrades. Cabin air filters pulled from US cars that were 5 years old and never changed are completely black and clogged. Owners complaining the AC was not cold enough often had no refrigerant problem at all, they simply had no airflow through the blocked filter. A new cabin air filter costs between $10 and $25. It can be replaced in about 2 minutes on most cars with no tools. There is no excuse not to do this every year. If you live in a city or drive in heavy traffic, twice a year is better. This is not primarily about engine longevity, it is about not breathing garbage every time you turn on the fan. It also saves the blower motor, which costs $200 to replace if it burns out from overwork against a clogged filter. 8. Timing belt at 100,000 kilometers, 62,000 miles or 5 years, whichever comes first. In the US, the standard timing belt interval is 100,000 miles. Some manufacturers stretch it to 105,000. That interval is not when the belt fails. It is when the manufacturer is willing to bet the belt probably will not fail before the warranty expires. Timing belts are rubber. Rubber degrades with heat, time, and flexing. A timing belt that is 8 years old with 90,000 miles is not in the same condition as one with 2 years and 30,000 miles, but both are treated identically under a mileage-only schedule. In Japan, timing belts are replaced at 100,000 kilometers or 5 years, whichever comes first, adding a time component because the belt ages even when you are not driving. Timing belts have been found well under the mileage interval but over the age interval with cracked rubber and worn teeth. If that belt snaps on an interference engine, the pistons smash into the valves, a $3,000 engine rebuild. A timing belt replacement costs between $500 and $900. Adding the water pump, which should always be done at the same time because it is right there, brings the job to about $1,200. Doing it at 62,000 miles instead of 100,000 might feel early. But if it saves your engine once, it has paid for itself 5 times over. Japanese owners do not wait, they do not gamble, they replace it on time. 9. Manual transmission fluid every 60,000 kilometers, 37,000 miles. In the US, manual transmission fluid is almost never mentioned in the maintenance schedule. Out of sight, out of mind. In Japan, it is changed every 60,000 kilometers, about 37,000 miles. Manual transmission fluid breaks down just like engine oil. It is sheared by the gears, contaminated with metal particles from the synchros, and absorbs moisture. As it degrades, shifts get notchy, synchros wear faster, and eventually the transmission grinds going into second or pops out of fifth on the highway. Changing manual transmission fluid every 30,000 miles produces immediately noticeable results: smoother shifts, more consistent clutch engagement, and zero synchro failures over high mileage. People who run the original fluid for 150,000 miles end up with grinding second gears and transmission rebuild quotes. A manual transmission fluid change costs about $80 in fluid and labor. A rebuild costs $1,500 to $2,500. The pattern is consistent across every fluid on this list: spend a small amount regularly or spend a large amount once. 10. Differential fluid every 60,000 kilometers, 37,000 miles. Differential fluid is another item ignored in the US and serviced regularly in Japan. If you have a rear-wheel drive car, a four-wheel drive truck, or an all-wheel drive system, you have differential fluid. In the US, it is often labeled lifetime or inspect at 100,000 miles. In Japan, it is changed every 60,000 kilometers. Differential fluid works under extreme pressure. The hypoid gears in a differential slide against each other rather than rolling, creating heat and shear. The fluid has extreme pressure additives that prevent metal-to-metal contact. As those additives break down, wear accelerates without any audible warning until serious damage has already occurred. Differential fluid drained from trucks with 120,000 miles that had never been serviced comes out black, smells burnt, and contains metal particles you can feel when rubbed between fingers. That differential was already damaged. A fluid change costs about $100. A differential rebuild costs $1,200 to $2,000. Japanese truck owners change it every 40,000 miles. American truck owners change it never and then wonder why their rear end is howling at highway speed. 11. Fuel filter at 100,000 kilometers, 62,000 miles when accessible. On older cars, fuel filters were easy to access and everyone knew to change them. On modern cars, many are inside the fuel tank and sold as lifetime parts. In Japan, even on cars with in-tank filters, they are replaced at 100,000 kilometers if accessible, about 62,000 miles. Fuel filters trap dirt and rust from the fuel tank. As they clog, fuel pressure drops, the engine does not get the fuel it needs under hard acceleration, and the fuel pump works harder to push fuel through the restriction. Eventually, the fuel pump burns out. A fuel pump replacement costs $500 to $800 depending on the car. A fuel filter, if accessible, costs $30 to $60. On cars where the filter is in the tank and not replaceable separately, some Japanese owners drop the tank and clean it at high mileage. That sounds extreme to American owners, but if it prevents an $800 fuel pump failure, it is not extreme, it is math. 12. Battery terminals and ground connections, cleaned every. In the US, people wait until the car will not start and then replace the battery. In Japan, battery terminals are cleaned and checked every year as part of the standard annual inspection. Corrosion on battery terminals creates resistance. Resistance means the alternator works harder to charge the battery and the starter draws more current to crank the engine. That extra current creates heat. Heat kills alternators and starters. Alternators have failed on cars with 4-year-old batteries simply because the terminals were corroded. The alternator itself was completely fine, it just could not deliver current efficiently through a corroded connection. A new alternator costs $300 to $600. A wire brush and 10 minutes of work costs nothing. In the US, this is never mentioned in a maintenance schedule. And then alternators and starters get replaced that did not actually fail from wear. They failed from neglect. What this all adds up to: Japanese K-car engines are not better than American V8s because they are built with exotic materials or secret technology. They last longer because the people who own them maintain them like they want them to last. Every decision follows the same logic. Spend a small amount now to avoid spending a large amount later. Oil every 5,000 miles instead of every 10,000. Transmission fluid every 30,000 instead of never. Coolant every 4 years instead of waiting until it is brown. Brake fluid every 2 years instead of ignoring it until the pedal goes soft. Japanese maintenance schedule costs about $800 a year including everything. An American repair schedule costs $3,000 every time something major fails. And it will fail not because the parts are bad but because they were never maintained. The complete Japanese maintenance schedule broken down by mileage with every fluid spec, every part number, and the exact intervals used by long-time owners in Japan is available as a free guide linked in the description. Use it. If you are reading this and thinking about how much you have neglected your car's maintenance up until now, do not spiral. You are not too late. Even at 80,000 miles with the transmission fluid never changed, you can start now. Even if your coolant has never been flushed, you can start today. There may be some damage already done, some corrosion already started, but you can stop it from getting worse. Transmissions that were getting harsh have smoothed out after a fluid change. Fuel economy has improved. Check engine lights have gone away. Your car is more forgiving than you think. Pick one thing from this list, just one, do it this week, then do the next one next month. You do not have to do everything at once. Consistency matters more than perfection. That is the real message. That is what separates the cars that last 300,000 miles from the ones that do not. It is not luck, it is not engineering. It is someone making the right choice over and over again until it becomes a habit. And habits are what build reliability.